Hey, you guys remember when the Alien franchise was good? I sure do. Back in 1979, Ridley Scott and Dan O'Bannon came through with one of the best sci-fi, horror, and straight-up best films ever made, and simultaneously introduced a cultural icon. Naturally, it made $1 bajillion at the box office, so 20th Century Fox decided to fund 3 more sequels over the course of 18 years. The first sequel didn't come until almost half the allotted time later, but that wait was worth it because we got another one of the best films ever made, James Cameron's Aliens. Cameron took the franchise into a new direction, focusing more on action with little sprinkles of horror. The film was still cash, and some considered it better than the first, and that's a fine opinion to have. I've always preferred the slow burn tension and mystery of the first film, but I totally get how people enjoy big guns, big characters, and big action set pieces more. And that's all you need to worry about. That's right, because everything after these 2 movies was a subsequent nightmare. I'd do a deep dive into why the rest of the Alien franchise is total dog shit, but I have to die in 70 years. I'm gonna be real with you guys. My knowledge of the Alien games really only extends to the Aliens vs. Predator reboot, Aliens Colonial Marines, and Alien Isolation. I've never played the classic Aliens vs. Predator games, but from what I understand, only the first one is good. There's been a lot of Alien games over the years, and I was only conscious of these, so don't crucify me for being ignorant about Aliens vs. Predator 2 2D Requiem. And you know what? I like the AVP reboot, okay? Alright, now you can crucify me. Full disclosure, I love Alien Isolation. I'd even go so far as to say it's one of my favorites. However, like everything under the goddamn sun, it's got flaws. Alien Isolation's first problem is that it doesn't have a compelling reason to exist. The premise is that Amanda Ripley, Ellen Ripley's daughter, and a character that was only in the director's cut of Aliens, but I guess is canon now, gets recruited to go on a retrieval mission to get the Nostromos, the ship from the first film's flight recorder. Amanda goes to get some answers and hopefully some closure about the fate of her mother. Fine premise, I guess. However, you, a person who has probably seen the Alien films, knows what happened to Ripley, and by extension, Amanda, in the director's cut of Aliens. The whole game is essentially this dramatic irony stretched out across this 45-hour-long campaign. Yeah, once you start this behemoth, strap in because you're gonna be on Mr. Xenomorph's big condom mouth fun time ride for approximately 20 hours. At least that's how long my playthrough was. Naturally, the game has some incredibly high highs, and honestly some kinda bad lows, but we'll get to that. Aside from some minor technical glitches like some floating weapons, a sound glitch, and one game-breaking bug that involved me not being able to leave the first room when I started the game up. Oh, and this. The game ran perfectly with no stuttering, and it didn't crash on me once during the entire time I played it, so it's a rock-solid port. Now we're gonna get into spoilers. But before I go into the spoiler warning, I want to clarify that whenever I compare anything in this game to the film, I'm talking about 1979's Alien, unless explicitly stated so. So if you want a quick verdict, the game is great, despite its story, tonal problems, and minor technical glitches. It's a fantastic love letter to one of the best films ever made, with a wonderful atmosphere and graphics, great scares, and legendary AI. Play it, then please come back and watch the video. Isolation starts out with Ripley being approached by Samuels, a representative of Weyland-Yutani, to tell her that they found the Nostromo's flight recorder and that they want to bring Amanda along so that she can get closure and shit.
I've been cleared to offer you a place on the Torrance if you want to come along. Maybe there'll be some closure for you.
So you wake up on a ship called the Torrens, and it's not even 30 seconds into playing the game that the atmosphere is already palpable, tense, and so incredibly faithful to Alien. It's amazing stuff. I can't praise it enough. Alien takes place in a gritty, retro sci-fi universe that has its own distinct layer of industrial grime covering every nook and cranny of the Nostromo, and it somehow manages to feel wholly unique to any other sci-fi film at the time. It even feels different to Ridley Scott's other sci-fi films like Blade Runner and even fucking Alien Covenant. The devs have done an excellent job translating that specific aesthetic into what is a fully realized vision, and what I would argue is the best looking translation from film to video game ever made, even if there is excessive film grain, which thankfully can be turned off in the settings menu. I left it on so I could experience the game the way that the devs wanted me to experience it. Man, this game is so pretty. I wonder who made this. The Creative Assembly, huh? Wait a minute, Creative Assembly. I know that name. Wait, what? What? Wait, what? So you're telling me the devs of some of the best RTS games ever made a first-person survival horror with incredible level design and an immaculate amount of sheen and polish? I'd sooner believe Ridley Scott letting the mangled horse that's hooked up to several IV drips that is the Alien franchise die. So you wake up and here you meet some of the members of the cast. Taylor, who's another representative of the company.
The loss of the Nostromo and its cargo cost the company a lot of money.
Verlaine, the captain of the Torrens.
I can't bring the Torrens into that.
And her pilot, whose name I completely forgot, but he never shows up again. And why is everyone so sweaty in this franchise? Jesus Christ. Get used to seeing their poorly lip-synced faces because this is the last time you'll get a good look at them in person for about 3 to 4 hours.
A well-maintained ship. I realize it's a very similar model to
The Nostromo.
So you do a spacewalk and that doesn't work because literally half the station is thrown at you, and because of course it doesn't, it's a video game. The game takes place on Sevastopol Station. It looks exactly like the Nostromo, and it's in the shitter because nobody can have anything nice when the apex predator of the universe is a smidge pissed off. So now is when the isolation kicks in. You're alone on a massive space station until you aren't. And then you are again. Now that you're actually alone this time, I guess we can start talking about the mechanics. Ripley follows in her mother's footsteps and is an engineer, which means she can do all kinds of nifty shit across her adventure aboard floating Detroit. She can access rewiring panels to control different systems in the room you're in or adjacent rooms, turn off the lights to blind enemies, yes, enemies, we'll get to that, or turn off the air purification systems to make everyone smoke a pack of Camels. Or open a door. Ripley can also hack doors and terminals that have some hacking mini-games attached to them by using the Security Access Tuner, which can be upgraded to gain access to unexplored areas and acquire information from terminals in the form of text and audio logs. These don't really add anything to the main story, but they're a cool distraction if you want to learn about all the shady shit that was going on in both Seegson, the company that owns Sevastopol, and Sevastopol itself before you got there. Terminals can also be used to activate different objects in the area to complete mission objectives. One section I really enjoyed where this happened is when you have to activate the power in a room in order to escape it, but doing this also wakes up 2 working Joes. It's a cool way to capitalize on the risk-reward system the game constantly toys with. Do I open this door to get valuable supplies, or risk blinding myself so I can't see working Joes or potentially the alien? It's good. Ripley also has a pretty cool tool set with things like an ion torch so she can remove door and vent panels to gain access to locked rooms and crawl through vents, a maintenance wrench to open doors and reroute power, a head-mounted flashlight which has the worst batteries the year 2137 has to offer, the aforementioned security tuner, and the most important tool, the motion tracker, which is self-explanatory. Some tools can be upgraded and some can be used to bash skulls in. Speaking of that, if you thought the alien was the only thing you'd be avoiding, you'd be dead wrong. Alien Isolation has not only 1, but 4 whole enemy types. During your time not really isolating, technically, you're gonna encounter some assholes who have a grudge against you breathing their air, and this happens maybe like 5 times in the whole game. Stealth is the name of the game because 1 or 2 shots from these guys will net you a one-way ticket out the airlock real quick. Luckily for you, you have ways to defend yourself, or distract them. We're not on that amnesia goo goo gaga baby shit because Ripley is essentially MacGyver. She can take scrap and other random shit she finds lying around and create useful things like noisemakers, medkits, smoke bombs, and flashbangs. Take a good look at the smoke bombs and flashbangs in the radial menu because you're never going to use them during the collective 25 minutes out of the 150-hour-long campaign you'll see other people. The reason for this being, unlike the alien, the human AI acts less like a person and more like a video compilation of people in real life recreating Skyrim AI. You'll also have to deal with synthetics, or working Joes as the game calls them, that have gone rogue because the ship's computer AI, Apollo, decided that the Terminator movies were cool, and also because it's an AI in a fictional story. So all the synthetics hate you now because you're a meatbag. These guys are assholes. They'll tank anything you throw at them, except for 2 specific pieces of equipment, which we'll talk about in a bit. They also do this real slimy bullshit where they'll pretend they're dead and then grab you and take off a chunk of your health. It's bullshit. It's bullshit! They're more of a threat because of the aforementioned everything, and also because they're just like Terminators in the way that once they see you, you better hightail it out of there because they will not stop chasing you. Now the real schmeat of this game is going up against the alien. That's right, the Xenomorph is on his king shit once again and is an actual threat this time around. A huge thing people seem to love about the alien's design, apart from its visuals, understandably, is the crazy AI that's implemented with it. I was reading an article that goes in depth with the design of the AI, I'll leave it in the description, and the designers talk about the AI using terms like psychopathic serendipity and menace gauge. Okay. Now, I'm no expert on AI design, but this is some crazy shit right here. According to the devs, they basically programmed the alien with 2 different types of AI, macro and micro. The macro programs the alien to be following you at all times but not know where the player is. Depending on the actions of the player, such as making too much noise, the micro AI activates the search for the player, which consists of its pathfinding and behavioral systems. There's way more nuance and technical jargon that the article talks about, but I'm on a strict 13-hour time limit for this episode, so you can read the article for yourself if that type of thing interests you. To boil it down, the AI is kick-ass. The alien acts and reacts as believably as a predator can, and is always a very threatening presence, even into the later parts of the campaign. It also has some excellent sound and visual cues to let you know how close it is to you and how aggravated it is. Make sure you check those ceiling vents. The good news is you have ways to defend yourself against this bad boy, and by extension the other enemies in the game in the form of weapons. Yes, there's a combat system in this game. There's 5 weapons in total, along with some equipment you can use to damage enemies. The revolver is the first weapon you get, and immediately throw it away because it's useless and reloading it takes the entirety of the campaign. The rest of the weapons are all kick-ass though, with some great sound design attached to them, including the revolver. Come to think of it, this entire game has fantastic sound design. I especially love the shotgun. The shotgun sounds meaty, and the way it echoes down hallways when you fire it makes it feel like a total powerhouse.
Come with
Except for when it attracts the alien, which none of the weapons can harm. Except for one. Oh mama, come to daddy. The flamethrower is freaking sweet, Lois. Not only is it the best weapon on this side of the galaxy, but it also acts as a light source for when you don't want to waste flashlight batteries or flares. But the range isn't that great, so I'd recommend using it for vent traversal. The thing goes through fuel like shit through a goose though, and there's not much of it lying around until the later parts of the game, so avoiding and distracting the alien is still the go-to strategy. Overall, the game is pretty stingy with ammo, as it should be, but it completely flushes you with crafting materials, which makes resource management kind of a joke, unfortunately. To round out the weapons, you have some Working Joe-specific weapons. You have a stun baton for when you want to play Cop Ripley or Dominatrix Ripley, depending on which kink is winning that day. Alternatively, you can use an EMP mine to take out multiple Working Joes at once, which is always handy because 9 times out of 10, there will be more than one Working Joe chasing you. The stun baton and EMP mines can disable androids for a little bit, except for the scum wearing hazard suits. Fuck them. In that case, you'll have to use the last weapon, the bolt gun.
This could really do some damage.
A lovely piece of machinery with a nice bit to go along with it. There's a bit of a risk using it though, because you have to stand in place while using it, so it becomes more accurate, which is terrifying when there's a bloodthirsty robot janitor Michael Myersing his way over to you. Okay, now that we've covered the basics, here's what the rest of the game looks like. Yeah, I played on hard and it's not a good time. You're gonna die. A lot. Like I said before, patience and stealth are the names of the game here. The game is very slow-paced and wants you to abide by its rules. There's really only one playstyle here. Try to sprint or go in guns blazing, and you'll, for sure, die in seconds. Except for when the game funnels you into these weird combat sections that feel very tonally inconsistent from a story and design perspective. More on that later. The story is kinda just there, and its biggest problems are its characters, tonal inconsistencies, and pacing. The actual plot is fine, it's a good alien story. Amanda herself is fleshed out enough to be likable and headstrong like her mom, but just ends up being her mom in the end. There's no defining characteristics that separate Amanda from Ellen, which to be fair is a safe choice considering this game is kind of a tough sell when you think about it. A single-player horror game based on an IP with waning popularity and critical success, and no multiplayer component. It was a smart move, I guess, to focus on a Ripley because I think that's what keeps people coming back to this franchise anyway. It's definitely not that fucking plant Xenomorph android love story thing that's going on in Covenant.
You know I can't let you leave this place. No one will ever love you like I do.
Samuels, Taylor, Marshall Waits, and Ricardo are given next to no development, so it's really hard to care about them, especially when two of them die off screen. Samuels has this cool moment though.
Biocontainment hazard level Omega. All permissions rescinded.
I don't have time for this.
And goes out like a Chad.
You're dying.
You talk like I've had an actual life. I thank you for that.
Samuels.
The voice acting also ranges from fine to good across the board as well. Ripley's actress gives the best performance, I think, with Samuels and Marlowe following after. I don't really have any complaints here. The only other character that's given really any depth other than Amanda is the captain of the ship that brought the alien to Sevastopol, Marlowe. And a pretty cool thing that I wasn't expecting the first time around, you get to play as Marlowe for a short section. Marlowe's crew discovers LV-426, and a scene which plays out in the exact same way the film does happens when the crew discovers the alien ship. They comment how cool it is and shit, and someone finds the eggs and gets a facehugger to the mouth. It's way too much fan service for my tastes, and the majority of the people playing this have seen the exact same thing happen in the film. Though it is kind of nice to see LV-426 rendered so faithfully in next-gen capacity. So the person that got attacked by the facehugger was Marlowe's wife, Foster. So her death is hitting him hard, and it's nice to see some semblance of character development in the game.
I tried to save Foster. Brought him to Bastion. Broke all the rules, getting her ashore. That was stupid. Stupid.
Marlowe actually has a pretty compelling plotline and motivation. He wants to destroy Sevastopol and everyone on board to stop the alien.
Destroy any clue, stop its infection from spreading. Make sure there's no chance of the human race ever making contact with it again. Because the moment it makes contact, it's won. The company's never gonna know what happened here. Nobody is. I won't allow it.
So he tells you that Weyland-Yutani is back on its bullshit and they want Taylor to bring back one of the creatures alive. Pretty compelling stuff, introducing this moral conflict that raises slight questions about morality and the greater good. But then he's unceremoniously killed, along with Taylor, when his ship blows up because he overloaded the reactor. Okay. Kind of a weird tonal shift too. Alien Isolation has these tonal inconsistencies throughout the game. It clashes with the overall design and, obviously, the tone of the game as a faithful continuation of the first film. Take these two sections side by side. Here, We're sneaking through the medical station of the base to try to get medical supplies for Taylor because of an injury she got from the explosion in the beginning of the game. It's tense. The alien is hunting you down. You're crawling under gurneys with corpses that have holes in their heads and chests. You have to move quickly because you don't know how long Taylor has left, but you don't want to make too much noise. It's terrifying. Then compare it to a scene not 10 minutes later when you try to escape the medical bay. Giant fucking explosions, everything's on fire. There's multiple points like this, such as when the game funnels you into awkward combat sections that give you a fuck ton of ammo and supplies in order to fight the working Joes. I get it was a way to introduce variety, but it betrays the very core of the game. There's also the worst offender of tonal inconsistency when Ripley finally learns what happens to her mom.
Added report. Personal message. This is for my daughter. Hi, Amanda. I'm recording this for you, my sweetheart, and I hope you get to hear it one day.
In a way, it is pretty cheap and rushed just having Sigourney Weaver record a voiceover and that's it, but it gives Amanda the answer she needs. I'm setting a timer for how quickly she gets over her mother's disappearance.
Oh my god.
Now you understand. And then you overload the fusion reactor.
That'll turn the reactor into a goddamn nuke. You'll destroy the ship and the station.
It will annihilate every trace.
Are you kidding me? A poignant and much needed character moment is totally thrown away in favor of half-assed exposition and a giant explosive escape sequence, which this game kinda seems to really love. So aside from this tonal nightmare, the pacing is an issue as well. There's one section that really could have just been cut, where you have to trap the alien in a server room. You trap it, but you also get trapped as well. So Ricardo lifts the lockdown that you just spent like an hour trying to turn on to get you and the alien out, essentially making this mission pointless.
Ricardo, how did you open it back up? I had to suppress the alert. It was the only way to get Ripley out. You let it out? We had it locked down, and you let it out?
Luckily, the game doesn't have many moments like that, but this one stood out the most. The game really starts to drag after you eject the alien from the space station about halfway through the game. It doesn't outright feel like padding because there's genuine stakes and a reason to be doing what you're doing, but it suffers from not being scary. Like, at all. It's here you actually start to see the competency of the level design, with some light Metroidvania elements in the form of using tools and upgrades you've acquired along the way to open new areas for you to explore in previous ones. When I first played this, it kinda caught me off guard actually, but then the majority of the second half is spent avoiding working Joes and fixing what feels like the entirety of the station, which is infinitely less interesting than the cheek-clenching ass workout that was the first half. Also, say goodbye to your weapons for a while too, which is tense I guess, for the first few sections, but once you learn the working Joe's patrol patterns, it's kinda trivial. I came to this game for the aliens. Where the hell are the aliens?
Oh no. God, no. Ricardo, they're all here. Everyone that's missing. Everyone. They're trapped in some kind of nest. There are eggs. It's like a farm.
Oh. This twist is fantastic, and raises a pretty interesting question about the game itself, honestly. Was it the same alien that's been following you this whole time? It would explain how it always knew where you were at any given time. I don't know if that's what the devs intended, as both a way to raise stakes and subtly explain a design choice. Either way, intentional or not, this reveal smacks. A twist like this completely reinvigorates the stakes and pace of the game, and the rest of the second half is fantastic once you get all your gear back. It's here in the nest that you're also introduced to the final enemy type. Facehuggers. One flamethrower blast makes it easy to take them out, but unless you hear the audio cue, you're done for. They're not that much of a problem, I'm just bad at video games. After you escape the nest, the game gets good again. Fix a few more things, more giant explosions, get into contact with Verlaine by way of this awesome satellite realigning section, and schedule a pickup while the station literally tears itself apart from the outside in. A new faction of human called Seeks and Security shows up as well, and where the fuck have they been during the entirety of the game? These guys have shotguns and can one-hit you easily. I never died to them because I'm really good at video games. Them showing up near the end of the game is a bit weird to me. Like, why wouldn't they have been deployed earlier? Were they on the ship the entire time? Maybe I missed an audio or text log that explains it, so let me know in the comments, I guess. Not that it matters, because the final stretch of the game feels like it's about to end like 8 times. Just as soon as you're about to escape, there's always another problem that prevents you from leaving. The worst offender is a jump scare that leads to a completely out of place section where you have to dodge falling elevators and sprint through the fiery remains of the communications hub. After all that, you're finally out. So how does this end? Cool. There's some fan service with the same sequence that Ripley goes through in the first movie to blow up the Nostromo. Okay. A lot of aliens, pretty scary. Whoa. Alright, that's a pretty cool shot. Okay, we're back on the Torrens. Time to finally get home.
I'm on my way up to the bridge. Verlaine?
Whoa. Well, I guess Verlaine and her friend are dead. Oh. Oh. Look, I get all the plot threads were resolved and stuff, but this girl has been through hell and back. If you were gonna rip anything from the ending of the first film, at least let our girl ride away into space and let her relax. I don't really hate this ending as much as other people do. I'm just kind of baffled with how lazy it is and how it repeats the same beats as the first film. I get Amanda's story is resolved and stuff and she supposedly gets saved, but I guess I'd like to see that? Maybe? I know it sounds like I was a bit too negative, but I really like this game. It looks, sounds, and plays great, it's scary as shit, and it gives you a lot of bang for your buck in terms of content. It's a must-play for Alien fans and survival horror fans in general, but unless you don't really know much about Alien, or you don't like a hulking 12-foot-tall monster with acid blood following you around all the time, this one may not be for you. And that's fine. It's sad to say, but this might be the best piece of Alien content we're gonna probably get for the foreseeable future. And with Neil Blomkamp's Alien sequel focusing on Ripley cancelled, and Ridley Scott's third prequel film put on hold, thank God, it's the best Alien content you're gonna get from the last decade. Totally recommend giving it a shot. Next week is something a lot different. Thanks for watching.